On today's episode of Understanding the Self, we are going to learn about philosophical perspectives, Western Philosophers Edition. I am who I am. But why should I care? Because born with not just names, but with power to change the world, to stand against identity crisis, out of which the human experience and all those that plague humanity roots down. You are but the expert of your own being. You are the greatest expert of your own life. You have within yourself the answers to questions about yourself. You have the inner wisdom already to know what you need to do and how to do it. Defining philosophy, the science of sciences. Philosophy is called the queen of the sciences because it has all the disciplines as its subject matter. For this reason, there can be philosophy of art, of education, of history, of science, and so forth. Philosophy's got you covered. Philosophy is also defined as the science that by natural light or reason studies the first causes or highest principles of all things. It is called science because its investigation is systematic. Did you know that philosophy is a combination of two words? Philo means love, and Sophia means wisdom. Philosophy is a way of thinking about certain subjects, such as ethics, life, human nature, knowledge, thought, existence, time, meaning, morality, and value. It also involves the four R's: responsiveness, reflection, reason, and reevaluation.
Philosophy across history. According to Mark 2020, during the Middle Ages, philosophic systems in Europe continued to evolve, mostly based on Christian beliefs, and during the Renaissance in the West, they continued to flourish. After the 7th century CE, Islamic intellectuals, as well as those of other religions, proceeded to build their own systems in the East. People continued to seek the same basic questions as their ancient predecessors and try to construct systems of thinking to answer them. And philosophical schools have continued on this similar path into the contemporary day. Seeing through its evolution makes philosophy a very invaluable tool that is fundamental to modern-day researches, disciplines, and literature. Nonetheless, its objective use relies on it being attributed to its historical context. The philosophical practice has historically aided the development of a wide range of disciplines, including self-cultivation, political theory, mathematics, and natural and social science empirical research. Ancient philosophy. Ancient philosophy is philosophy in antiquity or before the end of the Roman Empire. It usually refers to ancient Greek philosophy. Ancient philosophy in the West is distinguished from medieval philosophy, which was largely influenced by Christianity and Islam. Ancient philosophies are generally deeply rooted in religious traditions. Accordingly, ancient philosophies have a comprehensive outlook as opposed to modern or contemporary philosophies, which tend to have more narrow methodologies and areas of focus. So there are three major periods of ancient philosophy, which are pre-Socratic, ancient triumvirate, and post-Aristotle.
Pre-Socratics. The Western philosophical tradition began in ancient Greece in the 6th century BCE. The first philosophers are called pre-Socratics, which designates that they came before Socrates. Pre-Socratics are cosmocentric, which means they were obsessed with the subject of the basic substratum, arc, that explains the world plurality. It means that there is a fundamental principles that underlies everything else, including human self. They sought explanation based on natural law rather than the actions of gods. They didn't rely on the observations to gain a thorough understanding of the natural world. They did, however, come up with a hypothesis that attempted to explain why things are the way they are. Pre-Socratics are also cosmological or naturalistic philosophers, where they practice self-conscious inquiry into nature. Thales. Thales' concept on self is based on water. He believed that water is the foundation of everything. As a result, he declared that this earth is supported by water. Perhaps he acquired this idea from noticing that all things are nourished by moisture, and that moisture is the source of heat that keeps things alive, and that from which they come to be as principle of all things. Anaximander introduced the apeiron, or the boundless, as the beginning of everything. According to his theory, the apeiron is undefined and ever-moving. It gives birth to the contradictory terms of warm and cold, and of moist and dry, and their perpetual strife. Anaximenes compared self to air, wherein air is invisible and encompasses the world. So do soul which makes the persons live, which means that without soul, self will not exist. Democritus claimed that everything, including human person, is made of tiny uncountable building blocks, known as atoms. He mainly believed that there are three parts of the body where atoms are active, namely, the brain, the heart, and the liver. Heraclitus. His perspective on human person is based on fire. According to him, the world itself consists of law-like interchange of elements symbolized by fire. By this, Heraclitus means that something that may change to its opposite and vice versa. In this way, opposites are interchangeable, not identical. All are caught up in an endless cycle of change, transformation, and rebirth. Anaxagoras' doctrine of autonomous, infinite, powerful, and eternal mind, he believed that the mind is the purest of all things, the master of itself, and the ruler on everything, controlling all the elements and directing all the physical interactions in the universe. Pythagoras believes that we are originated from numbers. For him, constitute the true nature of things. He believes all things were numbers, meaning that the essence of things was numbers, and all the relationships, even abstract ethical concepts like justice, could be expressed numerically.
First of the triumvirates is Socrates. Unlike the pre-Socratics, he was more preoccupied with the problem of the self, the essential work of the philosopher according to Socrates, and this has become his life's goal, is to know oneself. In his estimation, the majority of men were completely unaware of who they were and what qualities they were expected to practice in order to keep their souls alive in the afterlife. This, according to Socrates, is the worst thing that could happen to anyone, to live but die inside. For Socrates, every man is composed of body and soul. This means that every human person is dualistic. That is, he is composed of two important aspects, an impermanent aspect, the body, while maintaining that there is also a soul that is perfect and permanent. Next to Socrates is his student Plato. The concept of the self and knowledge are inextricably linked for him. However, it should be noticed that Plato's concept of the human person is made up of body-soul dichotomy. The human being is a mix of body and mind. The rational soul and the spiritual soul and the appetitive soul are the three aspects of the soul conceived of as a self. The head is where the rational soul lives. The chest, on the other hand, is where the spiritual soul is. It allows a person to express emotions. And finally, the belly is home to the appetitive soul. Furthermore, as stated in Phaedrus, Plato believes that rational soul is superior to the spiritual and appetitive souls, since it acts as their moral and rational guide. Because the genuine self is the rational soul, the spiritual and appetitive soul must always be under control. The last of the triumvirates is Aristotle. Matter and form for him make up the self. And matter is always evolving and becoming as knowledge is acquired through the senses. The process of completion is through experiences. The mind self for him is a blank tablet. Although immutable in itself, this self stems from the first cause, which is the root of all changes. Happiness for him is achieved by moderation or balance of things, which is the purpose of the human self. Aristotle maintained that the human person is a combination of body and soul, with the soul unable to separate from the body. In Hylomorphism, Aristotle's philosophy of self states that the human being's soul is the form or structure of the human body or human matter, the functional organization that allows them to perform their basic life activities.
Third on the list is the post-Aristotelians. Maintaining the dualism between body and soul, These philosophies, however, had delved into the ethical philosophizing with moral norms for the attainment of happiness. First is Stoicism, apathy or indifference to pleasure. Zeno originated the philosophy known as Stoicism in Athens around 300 BCE, whose teachings of virtue, tolerance, and self-control have inspired generations of thinkers and leaders. The name Stoicism comes from the Stoa Poikil, the decorated public colonnade where Zeno and his disciples gathered for discussion. Rather than imagining an ideal society, the Stoic tries to deal with the world as it is while pursuing self-improvement through four cardinal virtues: practical wisdom, the ability to navigate complex situations in a logical, informed, and calm manner; temperance, the exercise of self-restraint and moderation in all aspects of life; justice, treating others with fairness even when they have done wrong; and courage, not just in extraordinary circumstances, but facing daily challenges with clarity and integrity. Hedonism, eat, drink, and be happy, for tomorrow you will die. The only relevant parts of whatever phenomena they are supposed to represent are pleasure and pain. According to all hedonistic philosophies, hedonistic theories would not be controversial, as if they are just listed pleasure and pain as two of the most significant aspects of what they are presenting. Hedonism's peculiar and intellectually intriguing assertion, though, is that pleasure and suffering are the only things that matter in the end. Hedonistic notions of value, particularly well-being, are often the focus of philosophical hedonists. Hedonism is a value theory that maintains that all and only pleasure is intrinsically worthwhile. Epicureanism, moderate pleasure. Epicurus philosophy, in a literal sense, is a system of ethics that encompasses any thought or manner of existence that can be traced back to philosophy's foundations. Epicureanism is a common term that refers to a lifestyle of pleasure, comfort, and luxury with a touch of class. A complete and interdependent system, Epicurus' philosophy included a view of the goal of human life, an empiricist theory of knowledge, an atomistic materialism-based description of nature, and an empiricist theory. Epicurus claimed he could refute the idea of the soul's existence beyond death, and hence the possibility of punishment in the afterlife, by relying on a radical materialism that rejected transcendent things, such as the Platonic ideas or forms. The unacknowledged fear of death and punishment, he believed, was the primary source of human anxiety, and anxiety in turn was the source of irrational and extreme desires. People would be free to seek the physical and mental pleasures to which they are naturally inclined, as well as the peace of mind that comes from their regularly expected and accomplished fulfillment, if anxieties and wants were eliminated.